Today we need to get into people saying that HYBE will be taking legal action. We need to get into Jung Kook apparently insulted at the Grammys and why people are saying this. And then of course we need to talk about someone talking and saying that the Grammys are not relevant anymore. So Dumplings is Dave, decide hater or not, make sure you subscribe with the notification bell on, grab your dumpling, taste filling mug merch, and let's go. There's been a lot of hype around the Grammys recently, and a lot of people have a lot of things to say about what is fair and what isn't, and what is going on. The bottom line is I haven't felt like the Grammys have been super relevant or super good indicator of whether an artist is doing really good or not. While having accolades like the Grammys or different awards do mean that the artists do get paid more, it also doesn't really mean that necessarily. So what am I talking about, and what does it actually mean? An artist winning a Grammy or any other award means that when they make appearances or have concerts, they can charge more for their concerts and shows because they are worth more. Their time is worth more, and they're an artist that makes really good music, supposedly. It also adds a bit more prestige to the name when hosts can introduce an artist as Grammy nominated or Grammy winner. However, a purpose beyond this, it doesn't really serve one. A Grammy does not mean that an artist will stay relevant forever. A Grammy does not mean that an artist will be pushed and put on TV anytime they want. It doesn't actually mean anything. And there's many people who are Grammy winners who've actually never really been that famous, and we actually don't even know of them either anymore, or we never really knew. When you take previous moments where you can see Jung Kook doing a live stream and he gets like 21 million views for the stream that he does, versus when you look at the Grammys, when you hear them say things like the viewers reach an all-time high when, and then it's something like 14 million or whatever. This makes you think, does the Grammys really hold that much weight? Does the title of the Grammy really matter when the award show isn't really even seen by that many people? And don't get me wrong, 14 million people would be a lot, but if an idol can just go on a live stream and then accrue 21 million views from sitting in his apartment, what does that mean for the prestige of an award show that gets much less? For example, there was an article that talked about the idea that for a lot of fans, the Grammys are not relevant anymore. This is because when you look at things like album sales or concert tickets or relevant news articles or any of those sorts of things that show that someone is famous or successful, you'll see that it doesn't translate to a Grammy. So you can have someone like Miley Cyrus, who for the first time ever just won her first Grammy the other day, and then you look at people like BTS who have like changed the world and have met with like the president and all that sort of stuff, and then still not winning a Grammy. It very much shows that a Grammy is not an indicator of success, nor is it a relevant indicator of whether an artist is good or not artistically. So I want to preface that before we get into today's video a little bit more, because I just want it to be known that just because you're an artist, it doesn't mean that the Grammys are the biggest accolade that you can get. Longevity, having a really successful career outside of just winning awards and making a lot of money and creating art, that's really valuable. That is all way more important than getting a small award. Now, what happened recently at the Grammys that got people really upset? Now, if you're unaware, Jung Kook released 7 featuring Lotto. This was definitely a song of the summer, and a lot of people were super excited to hopefully see it become Grammy nominated. Unfortunately, what people began to realize was that the song was not Grammy nominated. In fact, never even entered the Grammy ceremony. Jung Kook was never invited. People were saying that the Grammys snubbed him and all that. In fact, there was an interview with John Bellion, who was on the red carpet of the Grammy, and people kind of got their information from this interview, which was even more frustrating because I don't think that the interview itself was 100% accurate. So 2 interviewers interviewed John, and they asked him how he felt about 7 not having a Grammy nomination. John responded that he wished that it did, and he believed that 7 should have won or at least gotten nominated. Now, fans took this to say that 7 should have been entered in or was in line to be entered in, and I can see why they assumed that, because if John was the one who mentioned that John was the one who wrote it and produced it, then of course it makes it seem like 7 was in line, at least behind the scenes, to be nominated. But it just never was. Now, there's some criteria that needs to be met before a song becomes Grammy nominated or a winner of the Grammy. Basically, the song needs to be produced in America and have American producers backing behind it. So that obviously checked out with 7. The producers are typically the ones that can send in for the nomination, and they're the ones that actively push it in the direction of the Grammy, right? Because there's so many songs that blow up, not every song in the world is going to be eligible for the Grammys. However, if someone has a connection to the Grammys, which is usually the American producers, they're going to be able to get in the door. Now, one of the other things that is extremely important to note is that a song must be released and distributed before September of the previous year. In this case, from last year, it was actually October because I believe it was extended an extra 2 weeks for some reason, which of course, as we can see, Jung Kook's song was released around July, so it definitely was before the October date. Now, a couple of theories as to why I believe 7 was not actually nominated was because 7 actually came out, but the album wasn't out yet. So I think that is a very important distinction to note. I believe if a song were to become Grammy nominated, it needs to be associated with an album first. Now, this is just a theory. Obviously, nothing really backs it because Butter and all those songs that BTS made were not actually attached to an album, but I believe it could have been a contributor to this year's Grammys decision. And we've also seen artists like Miley Cyrus never winning her first Grammy until this year, after the fact that her recent song Flower wasn't even the biggest hit of her entire career. I believe songs like Wrecking Ball and all that were much bigger. So again, these silly award metrics are not a signifier of popularity or artistry. And I hate when people say Grammys are a popularity contest. If it was, why don't all the popular artists win? It's more a game of favoritism than it is a popularity contest, because we are clearly able to see that in any contest, BTS would win the popularity contest. Recently, BTS members have been in a bit of controversy, and not their own fault, but people have accused a football club of stealing BTS's logo. So to give it a quick recap to this and then talk about an update that happened. Basically, what happened was this football club used the BTS logo to promote or celebrate one Korean member joining their football club. It was interesting because a lot of people were confused as to whether it was a parody or not, or if the football club thought that all of Korea was BTS and that the BTS logo was just Korea's logo. After literally so much backlash, I was seeing comments saying that the football club needs to come out and address things, because if it wasn't clear that it was a parody, they should come out and address things. I want to explain kind of the entitlement of some people in the fandom. First of all, a company and any person does not have to do what you say that they should do. If they don't want to address something, they do not have to address something. And clearly, they're not losing their fans. They're not losing anything, because their subscribers and their fans are all people of football who don't care about the logo. People were saying that HYBE will sue the football club, and that has yet to be determined. And one of the reasons why, I also think that probably won't happen. It's likely that the football club has seen the backlash. I mean, there's no way they haven't. And if they have not deleted the post, they must have gone ahead and talked to their legal team, who had probably made sure that this actually wasn't a problem and they didn't have to remove it. A club that has not built their career off of K-pop and off of BTS does not have to apologize to BTS. And I love how the fans continue to threaten them. What we will see happen is nothing. And then months later, when a random person in the fandom points out the fact that the logo is still up, they will trend that HYBE doesn't do their job. When in reality, the only reason they're doing that is because they're embarrassed. The fandom made a big deal about something and HYBE didn't back them up on it by suing. I've said so before and I'll say it again, a multi-billion-dollar company does not care about petty drama. Other theories were that the football club hates BTS, which is extremely funny to me because using the BTS logo is a clear indicator that they don't hate the group, and in fact they actually really like the group because they're using it in an attempt to do a parody or have a celebratory message. It's one thing if it's like one person or 5 people making these comments, but when it's literally millions of people writing these things, it really makes me question whether half of these people are actually using their brain when they write these things. Like, do they actually understand what they're saying? They use BTS's logo in a celebratory, positive way, and they hate BTS? Or is it the fact that because they're not addressing the fandom's concerns, that makes them hate the group BTS? Also makes no sense. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thanks for the lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.